Thank you. Good morning, fellow panelists. We have a really interesting list of speakers and an interesting list of topics. See, as we do cataract surgery, doing it in different situations or difficult situations gets to be far more challenging. And how do we overcome the challenges and give standard outcomes is going to be very important. So, of course, yes, nanophthalmos, as Srinivas is going to speak about, is extremely important. One of the most difficult surgeries is to do when in nanophthalmic eye, where you face a whole lot of a bunch of potential complications, and starting from IOL power calculation to the very procedure itself. Phakic IOLs, we're doing a whole lot of them, just like we're getting patients after LASIK surgery who are coming for cataract today, and the only issue there is calculation. With phakic IOL, it throws up a lot more challenges. How do we handle this? Atik is going to talk about phaco and colobomatous eyes, where it's not only the iris coloboma that's going to get in your way, lens coloboma, the zonular dehiscence, weakness, vitreous presenting, so many issues there. And uveitic, post-uveitic cataract is a complete Pandora's box, starting from plastered iris, membrane on the cornea, on the over the lens, inability to do a rhexis because of calcification on the capsule, and of course for during and post-operative inflammations, and the posterior pole complications. How do we identify and handle all of those? Will be handled by Ramesh Dodarajan. And a lot more keratoplasties are being done. Thankfully, now we do more lamellar. And how do we handle post-keratoplasty eyes, where it's, the issue starts with from calculations, and to also how do we do the surgery, how do we manage post-operative astigmatism there. And post-traumatic cataract is a completely different kettle of fish. The trauma can be of different kinds, from blunt trauma to opened up eye to a completely ruptured globe to any kind of issues. And that can be complicated with cataract. And how do we handle this? What Jayantan is going to speak. So we have a lot of interesting topics and wonderful speakers. I'll take the advantage and I'll go first because I have another talk and another session later on. So let me start my talk on phakic IOL with cataract. Can I share my screen? Yes, there we are. Okay. So cataract surgery after ICL. So a lot of issues. It throws up a lot of exciting possibilities, and you can have a lot of fun with this these kind of cataracts. So we have been doing now ICLs for something like little over 15, almost 20 years. We started off with anterior chamber iris clip lenses and went quickly to the posterior chamber Collamer lenses. So most of the time we are now seeing these posterior chamber Collamer lenses. So I limit myself to those lenses. About the anterior iris clip lens, it's more open and shut. We'll have to just make a larger opening, take the lens out, maybe through the superior opening, and do a temporal clear corneal, do the surgery, put the lens in. So that's a different issue. So why does somebody get cataract after ICL? It just could be normal age related. You put it into somebody who was 25, 30 years old, it's almost 20 years now, and the person has got cataract. We all know that early occurrence of lens opacification in high myopia. Almost every one of our patients who we put in an ICL is mostly due to high myopia, and they go for early nuclear sclerosis. Surgically induced trauma can also precipitate early cataract. ICL crystalline lens touch also can cause an anterior subcapsular cataract. This can occur due to, in the early part of the surgery itself, post-operative, it can be due to improperly sized lens, which can be found out by the space between the ICL and the crystalline lens. If it is very less, we'll have to do a lens exchange upfront. But now we also know one issue, that as the person ages, the crystalline lens gets thicker, and where you started off with a 500 or 600 micron space vault, it can keep reducing over the next 2 decades, and you can have an early ICL crystalline lens touch, and the cataract can start. Please remember, in very high powers, let's say something like -18 or -20, though the ICL is thin in the center, it's thicker in the periphery. You could still be having a 500 micron vault in the center, but the vault in the periphery could be completely lost, and there could be a peripheral ICL lenticular touch, and the cataract starts in the periphery quite early and starts to progress centrally. So multiple reasons as to why cataract occurs after ICL. So if you get cataract or ICL, what are you going to do? You just have to do cataract surgery. So what are the difficulties? We all think the difficulties comes in IOL power calculation, and one assumes that the lens being, the ICL being there is going to give you some difficulties with the calculation. No, not at all. Lens is so thin, the thickness of the lens is somewhere about 400 microns, that its presence there does not matter whether you're going to measure the axial length by optical method or ultrasound method. It just don't have to put in any correction factor. So AL measurement is not an issue, but the issue comes from the fact that most of our patients for whom you put ICL either have high myopia and or have keratoconus, forme-fruste or proper keratoconus. So in this situation, you have to apply your mind as to how you normally play your mind for doing biometry in difficult situations, high myopia and keratoconus. The best would be to do SSOCT, optical biometry, to get the best results. So how do you do the steps of surgery? Now I'm not going to expand on how you're going to do the K-wave measurements, how you're going to measure the keratoconus, is it central, is it paracentral, and what kind of a lens you're going to put in. All that is not going to be part of the talk. All that is part of the biometry issues. So use the standard protocol for biometry in keratoconus and high myopia to get the most accurate lens calculation. You don't have to put any kind of correction factor for the presence of the ICL in the sulcus. So what do? You can skin the cat in many ways. Remove the ICL, then do cataract surgery. Cut and remove the ICL, then do cataract surgery. Do the cataract surgery, remove the ICL later. So if it's a Collamer lens, as we see here, it will come out through a 2.2 or a 2.4 very, very easily. Just enter in, put viscoelastic under the lens, float it up, dislodge the superior pole into the, surgical superior pole into the wound, hand over hand technique, it just comes out. It's like falling off a log, absolutely no issues. It's as easy as it looks, not at all difficult. You can get it out through a 2.4 millimeter incision, do a standard phacoemulsification, no difficulties as we do every time. And most of these cataracts come in quite early, so they are soft. There are, again, no great difficulties in doing the surgery, and you put in the appropriate lens. So believe me, where you are dealing with the Collamer lens, you have no issues. Removing the Collamer lens, that is the star ICL, is extremely easy. Just put viscoelastic in front of the lens, behind the lens, lift it up, bring out one pole into the wound, gently pull it out with a non-toothed forceps, hand over hand technique. It can be gently pulled out with no difficulty whatsoever. What happens is when you have the other group of lenses, the hydrophilic acrylic lenses, which are far more thick, and they're not going to come out through a 2.4. Now, if you enlarge the incision, how are you going to do the cataract after that? So here you have to preferably cut the lens. Steps of the surgery are the same. Viscoelastic in front and behind the lens. Bring the lens into the AC. Then you'll have to get yourself a simple micro varnish and cut the lens, or go for a proper pair of instruments, a holder and a lens cutter. There are lens cutters available which are made for cutting acrylic, hydrophilic or hydrophobic IOLs itself. These cutters work phenomenally, but believe me, you can very well get the same results with a micro varna itself. Cut the lens, you don't have to cut it fully. About 50% to 60% of the length of the lens, it is cut. And then you pull out one end, it folds over and it comes out. So again, no great difficulties. You're still left with a 2.4 millimeter incision. So your cataract surgery can proceed as it would normally. With no difference at all. Go back, fill up viscoelastic. Do your cataract surgery in the usual way. As I mentioned earlier, I think 9 out of 10, if not probably 95 out of 10 of these cataracts are soft, because these are patients who are already very fixated upon clear vision without glasses. The moment they have any difficulty, they come to you. So now, placing the lens in the bag as usual. This is an interesting case where this patient had already had an ICL, a retinal detachment, and then had silicon oil. Then the silicon oil migrated into the anterior chamber, also developed cataract. The silicon oil had to be removed, and also the same sitting, we were planning a membranectomy. There was some membrane peeling on the retinal surface. It was a really complicated case. So here, it went another way. What you see there is the silicon oil in the anterior chamber. Okay, that's going to come out the moment you enter and do a small bit of IA, no issues at all. There you see the ICL behind that. We just will be surprised the fact that you can very well do a rhexis and a phacoemulsification without removing the ICL. You rotate it so you enter through the side part. So the vertical long axis of the lens has to be perpendicular to the incision. That's all. You just have to rotate it. And once you rotate it, you can go under. The rhexis can be done quite comfortably. Believe me, it's not at all difficult. Any one of us can do that. Viscoelastic again. The lens is again rotated that side. So it's a long axis. I'm under the, it's sometimes difficult to discern that. The ICL is very much there. I've gone under, and being a soft cataract, we're able to take it out through a single-handed technique. You can stop, redo a bit of hydrodissection if you think that the lens is not coming out, but it's pretty easy. All of us can manage this. As I mentioned, most of these lenses are soft. You really don't get the grade 3, grade 4 hard cataracts, hopefully not. So out comes the lens, do IA. You can even put in definitive lens. The lens has been inserted, and then you can take the lens out. Here, I was not very particular about the incision. I made the incision larger and put in a suture. We can go the whole hog, and you can very well do flax in these cases. The flax instrument can be calibrated to do the rhexis. And once the rhexis is done, it's been also, the lens has been softened, even the soft lens. Take the nucleus, the ICL out just by the hand over hand technique and proceed. So you have got multiple choices. This was actually an image-guided surgery. The image-guided part was not recorded, unfortunately. So you recorded from a different instrument. So this was a toric, trifocal toric that went in to this patient's eye. So to sum it up, cataract surgery after ICL throws up a lot of interesting possibilities. You remove the lens, you cut the lens, or do the surgery with the lens in situ, or you can do also ICL and then do the rest of the thing. Thank you.